What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of From the Logo. Hayes should be here soon. He was going to be the host, but he had some things going on. But for today, it's your host with the most. My name is Gifted, and I'm joined here with my man Zizi. How you feeling, Zizi?
Good, brother, man. We good. We good. Team USA is 2-0, man. So I'm feeling very patriotic despite what's going on in the other parts of the world. But yeah, repping Team USA all the way through.
There's,
I said, I'm trying to push the agenda that they're the best team ever assembled. They need to start winning games by 20 plus for me to do that effectively.
I mean, so far so good. They beat Sudan in a pretty good margin. I like that, and that was with Curry having like his worst game, too. So that was good to watch.
Yeah. Bro pulled a Clay Thompson impression. 0 for 6.
Clay Thompson impression is what we doing.
He was 0 for 6. I was like, damn, Steph.
That's crazy. After you argue for Clay Thompson in the debate, you go right back to shit on him. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy.
One game sample size. But yeah, man, let's talk about the PCL, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I told you in the chat, this is one of the greatest ideas Players' Choice has ever had. I swear to God. Like, this is in terms of engagement. People didn't really understand the debate league until it really got rolling. I'm seeing a lot of people in the comments like, "Yo, this is really hell of an idea right here. Good shit, yo." So I'm like, "Yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep going." Now, who you got? Your next debate is Sunday, right?
It should be next Sunday.
Next Sunday. All right.
I got a bye week on mine.
You got a bye week. All right, man. I got to go right back at it on Sunday.
Really? Who you got on Sunday?
I got Mtel. Our topics are. I'm not gonna lie. Our topics are. I think he's one of the random guests that had made it on into the league. But I was watching him against Pirate, I think, last week, and he had some tough topics, but he was fully going automatic for Wilt Chamberlain. I was like, hey, bro, do your thing, like people. I need more Wilt Chamberlain fans on Players' Choice, bro. Like, but he put up a pretty good argument. I got to go up against him. Our topics are pretty. They can go either way, so it's gonna come down to the best argument for sure.
Bet it up. I really would like my topics ahead of time, but I gotta wait. Probably be posted maybe Monday or Tuesday. But listen, I'm out for blood. For those of you who are watching live, and for those of you who are going to catch this overall recording, yes, I'm looking for blood, because if we're recapping the last debates that we had, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I 3-0'd. I know a lot of contestants are going to say that they feel like they 3-0, but I genuinely watched back the films. You know me, I love watching film back, and I'm seeing it, and it's like, okay, what points did I not say for the 2004 defense that makes me lose that round? And listen, I need PC to do one thing for me, okay? We have to abolish Karl Malone arguments, because it's like no matter how good the point is or how factual the shit is, I feel like at the end of the day, it's like you're voting for Karl Malone, and that's just a nasty.
Bro, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I tuned into yours live, right? Like, but when I clicked on, it was right in the middle of you talking, and I was waiting because I didn't see the topic on like the banner. So I was like, all right, what gift about to cook up? Soon as you said Karl Malone, bro, I was like, yo.
It's like uphill battle. You know.
Yo, and you were naming so many. You were just throwing off stats. Some of the stats I already knew, but I'm sitting here saying, Karl, they got this man defending Karl Malone. Now look, you can bring up the numbers or you won't, and you have an argument from a basketball perspective.
18 years played, 17 years at 80 plus games, like all that.
From a basketball perspective, I'm saying this like in the most cautious way. From a basketball perspective, Gifted was on one, bro. Forget what happened off the court has nothing to do with them points, the years of the game.
I can't control that. I cannot control that.
But they essentially, Karl Malone is the R. Kelly of the NBA. Which, if you really think about it,
no bullshit. Yeah,
it's like he got the hits, like he got the numbers, like he got the accolades or what have you. But it's at the championship, of course. But
yes,
they're not gonna look past none of that. You cannot separate that. You can't separate that. They're not doing that.
Damn, I don't think people understand like how much of an uphill battle I was fighting, because after that, I'm not sure if you saw the next round, but after that, we went from that to the 1995 Rockets versus the 2011 Mavericks. And normally how these debates go is there's a momentum feel, right? Like if you bricked around or whatever, even if it was close or whatever, if you lose a round, a lot of that carries over because people want that 2-1. Yeah. They want that 2-1 badly. Yeah. And it's like he got Dirk in the Mavericks and I got the Rockets who a lot of people just didn't see. Pretty much everyone saw Dirk, right? Everyone saw the 2011 overall finals. But I was so prepared and locked in for that. It's crazy how I can win that but lose the Karl Malone joint.
Yeah, man. It's tough. It's really tough. You had to defend something that you ain't even see live, but you really had to do your digging.
I was locked in.
You know what I'm saying?
I was locked in. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, that given the circumstances of the run for both teams, that Rockets team was a 6th seed, if I'm not mistaken. So given the difficulty of that, both teams, I was like, this is gonna be a fire ass debate, right? To your point about that momentum, bro. To your point about that momentum, bro. Me and Mars.
Yeah.
I told you before. They put me against Mars because they knew we were going to be able to just kick that shit off right. Now, Mars went in directions, to Mars's credit. I told him this too. To your credit, he went in directions that I was just like, yo, because the Ray Allen, Klay Thompson one, for example. I'm breaking down Klay's numbers. Mars is breaking down Ray Allen's percentages on self-created threes or whatever. I'm like, okay, so now I got to play the analytics game. And when in all actuality, in terms of consistency, Klay's got it. So I sat back and I was like, the Clips are just going to have to do the talking at this point because, shit, Klay Thompson was consistent. I thought I brought up some phenomenal arguments in that regard. But at the same time, God damn it, Brandon's here.
I wouldn't even. He just put this shit up so fast and put it down so fast. Nah, that's funny, man.
Oh, man, let's move forward. But look, PCL, W, all right, we're going to keep moving forward, en route to that 1K. The other thing, too, I don't know if Player Shorts has talked about what, could be in the future, term. But hope to see you there.
Absolutely. Hopefully. I'm not quite sure how the points overall system works. I think when more of the clips continue to basically circulate, we'll see how all is built up. I'm just focused on creating strong arguments, and conveying that point, and hopefully people are able to see that. We'll see, but all I can do is lock in, and I felt like I was really researched in all my rounds. So even if I do wind up losing that first overall debate, I feel like I'm still a very keen and strong debater. Because listen, nothing bothers me more. Like, I can understand Karl Malone. I shouldn't, but okay, Karl Malone. Losing the 2004 Pistons defense, a team that only won because of defense, to the bad boy Pistons, I was tight. I was tight about that.
I didn't even catch that one.
Man.
What was the point that Swiper was bringing up for the Pistons in comparison to yours?
He mentioned the championships that they won back to back. He mentioned the roster. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but this is not a who's the better team. Yeah. This is a who's the better defense. And then he brought up the teams they played who were injured. And then he also brought up the like how they guarded Michael Jordan and had him in check. Oh, you mean the Jordan rules where it was just physical ass deep? Like, then I was like, hey, listen, that's cool. Do that to Shaq. Yeah, in single coverage.
Yeah.
But
that's a good point.
I'm just saying. I feel like I was so prepared, and I don't feel like the chat picked up everything, but that's okay. We're still having overall good debates. I would just say on the next one, if there's like a season 2 of this league, we gotta go back to Deck the Halls. To me, Deck the Halls was the best one I've seen PC do, because it was chat vote, but also they had a dedicated set of judges who would analyze and see, okay, who's making the good points here or there. Yeah. I would love to see that make somewhat of a return.
Deck the Halls was tough in that regard too, because shit though. You know what? I'll say this too. I learned a lot from that first round. Now I know, okay, prep time and all that shit. I'm really gonna have to go like Batman mode and shit, like really lock in, like. Be pick up, not for fans look crazy. Hey man, only gifted. And all right, look, so let's move into, obviously, we're not gonna start with the title topic because I'm waiting for Ace to get up in here. But I made a video last night on Team USA, and basically, if y'all don't follow, for those who don't follow my TikTok, I do like a little analysis, breaking down voiceovers, whatever. But a lot of the times I'm just giving my opinion in the moment, and a lot of the times when I do that, it comes across as a little aggressive, but that's my style of comedy, So I like to do that. I like to push that on my TikTok. But I was talking about Team USA yesterday, and I was like, you know what? If Steve Kerr's biggest problem is the fact that he forgets how much talent he has on his team or at his disposal, I'll live with that as long as LeBron keeps dunking on these little ass niggas, bro. Like LeBron, like I was like, at the end of the day, like looking at that game against South Sudan, Curry had a terrible game, but it didn't matter because everybody else picked up the pieces. If that doesn't embody what Team USA should be able to, Curry had a terrible game and they won by 15 plus. Right? If that doesn't tell you, shit, this team is really, really good.
And why is that, ZZ? Because that second unit, we have the best second unit of any team. That second unit be carrying every time. Yeah.
Any team. Mike, God damn. I hate when niggas be typing all caps.
But that shit are all caps.
Where'd it go? ZZ got destroyed by Mars. Are you one of Mars's disciples too? Is that well? Y'all like a little tag team, Eminem, ain't it? I feel it. Hey, look, Mars at the end of that too. He gave me credit where it was due. He was like, because Ox was trying to instigate. He was like, Mars was talking, big stuff, and I was like, yeah, I heard him, And Mars was like, oh, we got to market. We got to market. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I know. Mars was like, I know you know ball. I was like, I know. Appreciate it, Mars. Appreciate it. Look,
I know.
It's like I was like, I get this, man. I get it. Somebody once before used to be able to market just as well as Mars in terms of just going all out there. Difference was when push came to shove, he couldn't really back up that talk. I'm not gonna name names, but Gifted, you should know who I'm talking about. Anyway, moving forward, what's your thoughts on that game, bro? South Sudan versus Team USA, the rematch.
I thought it was good, man. I will say, like, I love the cutthroat nature of what Team USA is doing. I love it, man. Right? Like, one game, Jason Tatum, you don't play. That just, that just is what it is. And in the very next game, Joel Embiid, you don't start the first half. You barely play 80 minutes in the game. Right? Like,
no minutes at all. No minutes at all.
Nothing. You don't even get burned. And it's like, I like that because to me, that speaks to establishing we got to get rid of egos if we're going to win the gold. If there's a game where X or Y player can't play, support your teammates, be fine, and know that your time will come in another matchup. Now, there's things you can criticize, I guess, here or there. But for me, if they're blowing out the team by 20 points, then what needs to be done is pretty much being done. There's some things that you can always clean up, but that's how deep the roster is where, star players are going to get limited minutes.
Yeah.
From game to game. And to me, in my opinion, I told y'all Steve Kerr was lying to the world when he was like, our big three is Joel Embiid, LeBron James, and Steph Curry. I said from jump, the real big three is Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. Those are the three. Okay? I don't care what Steph shoots. If he's on the floor with Kevin Durant and LeBron James, he's always going to have that force. And those lineups are just going to decimate a lot of the other lineups. It is what it is. And having Bam Adebayo play as well as he did, I can't believe people try to tell me Bam would get no minutes because they would have to play Joel Embiid. Bam's good. We need Bam to play.
Y'all know that too. Like the thing too is like you said earlier on, the biggest thing for Team USA is that second unit, because no matter if Steph Curry goes cold, right, in the first half, it doesn't matter. Mike hit it right on the nail. Team USA is just the bench is the difference. That is how scary this team is. The fact that, like Gifted said, if everybody's healthy and you have a starting lineup that features LeBron, Steph, and Kevin Durant in it, you're gonna live with whatever you get. If you living with whatever you get leads to them having a poor shooting night or something, or being a little lackadaisical in certain areas, that's why Steve Kerr has guys like Jrue Holiday in the lineup, guys like that.
Exactly.
Right. Even so, because even if LeBron, Kevin Durant, or Steph Curry are feeling sluggish, those guys have been busting threes out the ass, just rankless. I mean, Drew Holiday from a corner, bro, has been electrifying, bro.
Booker's been very good with that
and
too.
Booker's spotting up. I mean,
he's been great. He's
catching
been great
it on the wing, right? Getting to the
I
cup.
need Tatum to make one though. Holy shit, he's still. I don't think Tatum still was made a threes.
Nah, he hasn't. He has not. As a matter of fact, let me check the box score. Jason Tatum, 2 for 4, 0 of 1 from 3. Yep. So he shot less. Great. But god damn it, Tatum, if you don't, I mean, at this point, he's gonna have to end up shooting like half-court shots at the end of quarters or something, like just to just to see some. I mean, shit. But anyway, the fact of the matter is, like you said, Joel Embiid goes this game playing 0 minutes. Steve Kerr comes out later and says, "Oh well, we wanted to be able to run with these guys." You look at South Sudan in that first game, you see what he's talking about. They were running and gunning. Karl Jones and Shayak and all of them. I mean, transition buckets, half-court sets, they were getting whatever they wanted, knocking down whatever threes they got. It's just like, yo, I'm sitting here looking at all these other teams. I said it in the video yesterday. The only other teams that genuinely are giving the side eye to, like, oh, shit, Canada, Germany, and then
Germany is nice. Yeah. Germany is nice, bro.
Yeah.
They're
People
good.
You want to know who they underestimating the most on that team?
Who?
Dennis Schroeder.
Dennis Schroeder's a leader on that team.
I don't care. I said this too before. I don't care about Dennis because Lakers fans will remember Dennis Schroeder turning down that $80 million deal, betting on himself, ended up with a vet minimum, and then somehow finding his way back to LA just to leave again after a year.
Yeah, that was crazy.
International play, Dennis Schroeder is the leader of that damn squad. And even when Dennis was on the Lakers, I loved him on the Lakers because I was like, this is the one guy that when they insert him, or if LeBron, some of the portions of that season, LeBron was hurt and it was just Dennis and AD running the show, and the Lakers would have late game situations. Dennis Schroeder's locking guys up at half court, pickpocketing guys, going down the court, getting transition buckets late, or just getting to the cup himself, or setting up Anthony Davis. Like, he has that part of his game where it's like, if he's given the opportunity, you just give him the opportunity, let him kind of do his thing, and it could lead to some great, success for you.
And he has the opportunity overseas. I think the biggest thing with him is, like, he has the range to basically be their guard who makes plays. But now they have the Wagner brothers are like the biggest 1-2 punch for them as well. Like, they just have a squad of players who understand how to play basketball, and more importantly, the dog in Dennis from game to game to game, where he's scoring 15 points, 18 points, a strong 5 assists, 8 assists. Like, they just play with poise. That's why they played them almost to a win, right? Like, they're good. I think we're better than them for sure, but I think they are a legitimate team where they can get hot. They can get very hot.
It's a situation too where I've also been analyzing Team USA, exhibition game to exhibition game. And I sat back and I was like, all right, some of the things that you saw in the first few games, you're not really seeing a lot in the last two, right? Turnovers, they've calmed down on that. They've keyed in on defense. They haven't been too lackadaisical, right? And all of those issues were happening because they were trying to build that chemistry and at the same time trying to figure out, who do we have and when will we have Kevin Durant, right? So you look at all that and you say, okay, now they're locked in. Kevin Durant, he was talking shit to the sideline. I know him and the head coach, I think they're
love that.
Friends. But I'm like, we got KD acting ignorant out here. Why? Because we are cooking these niggas, bro. And Kevin Durant is sitting there saying, look, I don't give a damn who you got on this team. Can't none of y'all guard any of us one-on-one, right? And that's the type of attitude the Team USA needs to have. Like, we are better than you, bro. Right? Steph can be the cool, calm, and collected one. LeBron can gloat when he gotta, do the little, and Kevin Durant can just talk shit and cook motherfuckers and score efficiently. All of that. Bam Adebayo, like you said, I don't know why they was sleeping on Bam, but the thought, I even said this before during the exhibition games. The fact that people are arguing Anthony Davis in the starting lineup is one thing. I get it. But why are we not appreciating the front court of Bam and AD in the second unit?
That front court has been so spectacular, man.
They have been amazing, right?
They've been great. They've been great,
and with Bam starting to slowly find his stride, right? I'm hearing D-Wade glaze that man on commentary. I get it, right? They was former teammates, whatever. But I'm sitting there saying, all right, if
his pronouns are he's him.
I call him Bam Monte. His mama call him Bam. All this shit. I'm like, you are not Mark Jackson. Like, come on, bro. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, cool. Bam is starting to find his stride offensively and getting confident and taking the long ball shots and taking the mid ranges and getting the floaters, getting the putbacks. I'm like, so if Bam is doing that, shoot, it could be a wild card for who goes off on our second unit. And
true,
Bam, Derek White can get hot, right? So we deadly. We better win this goal. We better win this goal.
I guess my question is, what do you want to see in terms of the team continue to change? Because right now, we won 2 games. That's great, but obviously you need to continue these trends on. What do you think needs to change, or are you fine with how things are now exactly? Like 2 games now, 2 star players basically don't play. I'm wondering if there could be like a better balance to where they can play, or just no. I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, like I said, man, it's a situation where we have the most talented roster of everyone. So at the end of the day, as long as we keep the focus on the primary focus, right, on defense, we're dangerous. In transition, just think about all of the combinations, for example, that we can have now with Halliburton getting his run, right? Like Brandon just said, KD's back now. I saw the transition play. I think AD was on the ground, dove for it, threw it up to Steph. Steph threw the lob to Tatum. Those type of things.
Nice,
Anthony Edwards. There was one possession where Ant drove in, they ended up getting a bucket, and then South Sudan inbounded the ball right into Anthony Edwards playing full court pressure defense on Carly Jones. Gets the steal, right, and then we score again with Bam. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, the focus is like we're here, so we can score. Yeah, cool, but we right back on defense. Like there's no celebrating. There's no lackadaisical. Let me just run around and look at the crowd. No, we right back on defense. So if you have that in your second unit, right? If the second unit's biggest thing that they pride themselves on is defense, that's scary. Because the first unit, they can pride themselves on defense, having Drew Holiday as the point of attack defender or whatever, or having LeBron, in chase down mode or whatever, or Kevin Durant on the low block. But even if they wanted to prioritize offense, that's fine, because that second unit is going to prioritize the defense. So that's
what gives you such a big charge. When you have such good defenders, again, we have Bam and Anthony Davis coming off the bench, or just even on the floor overall together, you make every lineup dangerous. That is the difference overall for a full game. To go through those overall rotations, as long as they're committed to the defensive end, trying to get out in transition and make plays, things will be better. I also feel like when Tyrese gets worked back into the rotation, he can help out a lot with the overall transition game. The defense can be questionable. I think the guard defense from Steph also hasn't been great. He's had moments where he's been solid, but overall he could do better. I just feel like they're figuring everything out as they go. And I'm not mad at that, because they're winning in 15-point games, 18-point games, right? They're looking like a much better team than they were in their first 5. And again, I'll keep saying this until I'm blue in the face, right? No one cares about exhibition games after you win the gold. I swear to God. No one is thinking about these games. It's about building up the habits. And if that's what it took, that's what it took.
Facts. I agree with you on that. And that's all that it is. When you look at it, I like the fact that Steve Kerr said, you know what, we are going to play Joel next game against Puerto Rico because we can utilize him there. That transition game ain't like South Sudan, even if they got a Jose Alvarado or whatever, right? So the way I'm looking at it is you look at it from a game by game basis, depending on the matchups and what is in Team USA's favor. That's going to tell you who's probably going to end up having a good night or not. Bam Adebayo, right? For example, coming off the bench, dealing with whomever's on the opposition, he has an opportunity to cook that along with Anthony Davis. And Hayes is finally in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
What's good, Hayes?
Logo 3, we are finally here.
What's going on, Memo?
What's good? We're currently talking about Olympic basketball.
Okay. What about Olympic basketball? We talking about Team USA?
Yeah.
Yes. Team USA, we're talking about Tatum going from a DNP to playing and still not being very good. Joel Embiid going from playing to not playing at all, and us winning and what we need to win. So that's really it. We slightly covered Steph. I've been seeing a lot of overreactions. He shot the ball awfully. I don't think he had a good game, but I still feel like the impact he's having. I'm seeing plays where he's running off the ball, right? And they're doubling him just like a regular Golden State action. And now we have athletes who can actually finish and convert those plays. I think he still has high impact there, but the defense at times can be concerning. I'm not going to lie. Like, I saw plays where he was getting blown by, but I don't think every game overreacting to these players shooting bad is there. You got to think about the impact that they're going to bring no matter what. For instance, if KD doesn't make 5 or 6 shots, I don't care. Why? Because that's Kevin Durant, and his impact on the team off the ball is going to create many different opportunities. What I care about, Hayes, is the second unit, because what's going to decide these games is how it is the stagger. If we start out slow, who picks us up? Our second unit. If we start out strong, what elevates the game to become a blowout? The second unit. And what have they been doing? Dominating every team so far.
Yeah, the second unit of Team USA has such, in a lot of ways, is almost more balanced than the starting lineup as far as just the well-rounded skill sets, and that you can go to that bench at any point in time and like pull out what you need. It's like having a Swiss Army knife. Like, do you need defense? You can go out there and get somebody who can come in, change the tone of the game, get you a couple of rebounds, get you some blocks. If you need to push the pace, get out in transition, you can do that. Somebody who really impressed me, especially in that last game, was Bam Adebayo. Like, Bam came in to that last game and just changed so much and dictated so much of that. And so it's so far through the 2 games that we've seen so far, it's been somebody different each of the 2 games. Now it's only a 2-game sample size. You want that, but just the skill set that you have on that bench. And, you know, when you talk about certain players not playing in games, they have to be okay with that, because there may be a game where you don't need that skill set. You don't need that tool out the shed. And I think that's perfectly okay in the Olympics, as long as you're getting somebody to step up and bring the production you need. And I think that's the key part of this.
Yeah, another thing too, Brandon, I don't give a damn how healthy Halliburton is. He's never, under any circumstances, going to start over Steph Curry in this run to the goal. I don't care. Steph Curry.
I find it kind of weird though, because like, he's healthy, but you're mentioning Curry being a liability on defense. What is Tyrese Halliburton?
Well, yeah, what?
I don't understand.
You're saying that like,
but that's fine. Like, listen, we want Halliburton to get in, because again, I think he can really impact the pace and all that. But
on the bench,
I just think that, I feel like no matter what, and again, Hayes, you can let me know if you believe I'm being biased. I'm down to here, right? But I just think that the core 3, no matter what, has to be LeBron, KD, and Steph. Because I think no matter what lineups you have or whatever, we have those 3 on the court with either Bam or maybe Tatum, whoever you have, even Anthony Davis in those lineups. It's just a dominant, like, it's hard to guard them like that when you have all 3 of those offensive players on the floor together.
Yeah, especially in international basketball. Like, you're talking about, like, just the spacing isn't quite the same as it is in the NBA, and that plays a little bit more into the lineup that you mentioned is just the physicality that the NBA can play with on the offense and defensive side. And then if Team USA is playing that solid defense, getting those extra possessions, getting out in transition, like, there's not many teams that can run with them in that case. And so I agree with you on what needs to be the core. I don't doubt that. Now, how much we need to rely on that core in some of these games, you know, that's what you need to have the conversation, right? It's how much you need to rely on that core, how many minutes that core needs to play. But I'm not mad at that being the core at all.
Yeah, man. I'm very excited. I gotta say, bro, it feels so refreshing to watch FIBA basketball, because they let them play, and I love it, man. Enough of these ticky-tack calls that aren't really there. Like, they make you earn that whistle. I love to see it, man. We'll never get this consistently in the NBA. Although, to be fair, after post All-Star break, we started seeing a lot more in the league. I'm wondering if that transfers over to next year, though. I don't know, but I love that too.
Let me ask you this question: which, out of what you've seen in the Olympic basketball session so far, which team do you think has it could change? We're only a few games in. Is the biggest threat to Team USA?
Man, I got to be honest with you. It's between 2 teams, but honestly, I think I'm taking Germany over Canada. And that might be like a hot take, but I just think the poise and the way that they play together is very, very good. I think they have a clear chain of command, and they have multiple guys who get downhill.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing. So for me, I'm favoring Germany. Obviously, Canada has a lot of star talent. I mean, Shai Gilgeous is hooping his ass off. He's playing very, very well, but I just like the way Germany's built so far as overall team. I really do.
Yeah, me and Gifted talked about it a little bit before you hopped on, Hayes. But I said it was between Canada and Germany. And I said that a lot of people are sleeping on Germany because of, like Gifted just pointed out, they've always had that camaraderie. We're talking about playing as a team, right? Canada just got a bunch of NBA players on it, but they can play as a team for sure, right? They got, they got Shea, they got Dylan over there, they got RJ, right? Jamal. But in terms of playing as a team and building, like with Dennis Schroeder, we just talked about Dennis Schroeder leading the charge, right?
Yeah.
Being flag bearer for a reason, right? Now, I don't think that they're better than Team USA. Don't get me wrong. I think Team USA could still, beat them respectively. But if there's anybody that could challenge or run with these guys or kind of hang around, we thought it was South Sudan. But in that second game, Team USA kind of cleaned up, everything. Yeah. So now it's about, okay, going forward, right? Dylan Brooks is going to try to, pop his shit regardless. But that shit hasn't done anything at all in his entire career. I don't think there's been a moment where Dylan Brooks has played the villain role and it paid off for him. So that's not scaring nobody. But yeah, if it was any team, it'd be Canada or Germany. Somebody actually told me I need to start considering France. And I was like, yeah, they got Wemby and
by the way, did you see that France game?
Yeah. That was
crazy, wasn't it?
Hey, listen,
that was real hoops. That was real hoops.
That was crazy.
That N13, the N13 was crazy. Yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah.
Look. Yeah. So, France might be on the radar. Who knows? How y'all feeling about France? Where y'all think they are on this?
I gotta be honest, man. Like, I like France, but the thing with them is that I think they get very offensively stagnant sometimes. They're heavily reliant on Wemby in a lot of different spots. I think the offense is really their issue. Defensively, they're very good. I mean, they have size everywhere. Right. I literally saw plays where Gobert blocks a shot. They get the ball back, go for a three, and Wemby then blocks a three. Like that is ridiculous. Yeah. But the offensive inconsistencies makes me take them less overall serious. I mean, they were literally in a dogfight with, I believe, Japan, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's who they were playing.
Yeah. And then Rui fouled out on that bullshit, bro.
Rui had 24 before he went out too.
I was like, the refs definitely. I didn't know that refs had money on international games too. But damn, like,
they got that home cooking, man. They got that home cooking, man. I'm just saying that shit was kind of crazy at the end.
That's hilarious. Shout out to the Olympics has been really fun though, really fun so far. Like there's been, I would say it's gotten better and better each year, but I would say like 2 Olympics ago, like it was like 4 teams that you really wanted to watch, and every other team was just like, they're going to get murdered. Like at this point, almost every game that I've watched so far in the Olympics has had some semblance of competitiveness, and you just enjoy watching it.
Fight, yeah.
So
absolutely. Also, while we're here, shout out to Simone Biles. Got injured, still played through the injury, hooped, and got the gold medal. That's tough, man. Big shout out to her.
Goat Biles.
Goat Biles.
Definitely goat. Let's get into the title topic. I know usually we wait until later into the show to get into the title topic, but I think this can spurn off into a multi-layered discussion. So the Cleveland Cavaliers have doubled down, tripled down, whatever you want to call it, on their core after giving Jared Allen his contract extension. That now locks him up into the 2028-29 season, if I'm not mistaken. So this basically has everybody of their core between Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and now Jared Allen, all locked in, I think, to at least 2027. Do you think that I have my thought, but I wanted to turn it over to you guys first. I'll start off with mine. I think that this is a great calculated risk by the Cleveland Cavaliers, not only to double down on their core, but if it does not work out, if they do decide, hey, we do need to pivot off some of these guys, let's say it's Jared Allen for that case. You've now locked in Jared Allen, so that way the team, if you do look to move him, the team that takes him has to theoretically give you more because they don't have to worry about a contract negotiation coming up anytime soon. So you've now safeguarded that asset in the sense that they don't have to worry about him being expiring or anything like that. They get him for a nice amount of time on that deal, so you can get more back. And they've done that with every of the 4 core members of that team. And I think that it's a really smart thing to do. Yes, there's some questions I have about how they can compete in the Eastern Conference, which we'll get into. But Gift, I'll turn this one over to you first. Just on them locking in this core, how do you feel about
it? I have a lot of conflicting thoughts. I got to be honest, Hayes. On one hand, I feel like this team is kind of stuck in the middle where it's like you're not great enough to be at the top of the conference. There's teams that many people would take over you, but you're not always at the bottom either. Like this is a team that year by year, you can lock in as a top 4 team almost every single year, right? Like they have the talent, they have the defense, they can always get there. But in terms of like converting that to actual success, you kind of question it. But on the other hand, it's like, well, at the same time, we always say, oh yeah, well, guys, if you want to win, like continuity really matters. Well, this is how you build continuity, by spending many years together. Okay, it didn't work this year. Let's improve. Let's get better. And you have a core that's there and you grow over time. I think maybe their game plan is to try to like age out a bit of these teams and grow up, which makes sense. But I think it really depends on what you think the ceiling is of the front court or back court. Because again, the back court is Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. And we've seen at times they work off of each other pretty well, but overall winning a title with 2 small guards, we haven't really seen it in a long time. And then with the front court, it's like, all right, normally in the front court, you need to have one of those big men be a very versatile guy. That guy's probably Evan Mobley over Jared Allen, but statistically, the team's been better on defense with Jared Allen. So it's like, how do you make all 4 work consistently? And how do you make it to where they are a legitimate contender in the Eastern Conference, especially now that they've done that, Hayes, with the new CBA looming over their head? Yeah. That's why I'm like a bit in the middle, and I'm not quite sure how to feel about them.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. For me, I was surprised that, when I got the news that they had extended Jared Allen, because I think he had 2 years left on his deal or something like that.
2 years left on his deal. This year and next season, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, cool. They've obviously committed to this core, which is something that people were having question marks about after they got beat by the Celtics, and then JB Bickerstaff got fired. So the question really was at that time, right? Who do we split up, or do we split up anyone? And they were really talking about pairs, because we've talked about it before. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland is a pairing that when Donovan Mitchell first got to the Cavs, everybody was excited for. Since that has happened, though, the one guy that seems to be disappointing the most in that pairing has been Darius Garland. There's been a lot of instances in the postseason where Donovan Mitchell's basically practically back in Utah, only with better defense, right? Yeah. So it's a weird situation. This is a Cavs team. I looked at the numbers. They weren't top 5 in any major statistic last year for team-wise on the season. Not an offensive rating, net rating, defensive rating, what have you. But like Gifta said, they're a consensus top 4 team in the Eastern Conference. But then the question remains as to where are they going with this? If you're a Cavs fan, how much does this move you? Now, them getting Kenny Atkinson is great, right? That's something that we can say, okay, we're going to see what type of schemes he's going to be able to run. Maybe he can get them into the top 5 in offense, maybe top 5 in defense, or at least in some certain, or at least in a category. But if at the end of the day, what you have is the same core, right? That means that if you get into the postseason, right, Darius Garland, you're going to have to carry your weight. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, who was doing a pretty decent job, right, at portions of the season last year, right?
And the bench pieces too, yeah.
Right, and the bench pieces. They got, so it's something that I think it's a matter of great that you figured out the answer of I need to lock down my core. But where do we really go from here? Is it the head coach, right? What have you? Jared Allen's locked in for 5 years now. I think it's like $140 million or something like that, right? He's the least paid player out of the 4 of them, right?
Yeah.
So and we of course talked a couple weeks ago about Evan Mobley's big contract, and we had our, we were like, I
do got a theory.
Go
ahead. Because I think something that we need to start paying more attention to is these guys who are getting bags like this. I don't think it's just to extend them but I think it's to keep the asset. And also, if there's like a bigger monster salary you want to trade for, well, guess whose money matches that can get you there, right? Having Jared Allen there as a piece makes a lot of sense, because most times, right, like some teams don't have the salary to go get a player. Having Jared signed up like that gives you the flexibility to do that in the future if you wanted to.
And I'm going to double down on that flexibility part that you just mentioned, Gifted, because while they do have some super big contracts, the Cleveland Cavaliers and how they monitor the books got to be studied, because they are still $27 million below the second tax apron and are projected, even with their extensions, to still be $23 million below the second tax apron next season. So even though they've signed those 4 guys, they're very top heavy. They've still managed their books in a really good way to where they're not really a concern to be right up against that second tax apron like a lot of these other teams are. And to go back to Gifted's earlier point as well, they could be waiting on some of those other teams in the Eastern Conference to get to a point to where they're like, we got to start selling off some assets to avoid the second tax apron.
Yeah,
and they won't
buyers.
be in that position.
And you know what? It's interesting you say that, right? With Boston owners selling stock and shit, whatever, selling the team. We talked about that a few weeks back when it happened. I said in 2 to 3 years' time, this Boston team we might start seeing them in the middle of the pack in the Eastern Conference, and it won't be because of like skill or anything from Tatum or Brown wise. It's because they won't have those assets that they did have in this historic championship run that they just went on. Because as we saw Gifted for an 8-year stretch, what the Warriors did to the league, Adam Silver said, "Fuck that. That's not happening again." Your championship, their championship, the Warriors championship window was for an extended period of time. The Celtics, that shit might close a lot faster than people think, given the CBA and all of that. So,
but that's why I think the Celtics are so scary, because if there's one thing we've seen time at a time, the Celtics don't give a damn. If it's time to get better, it's time to get better. We'll trade Marcus Smart. We'll trade Robert. Like they will cut bait quickly. So to me, if we see any pushback this year, if something happens to Porzingis, he's getting traded, right? If you need to flip Derek White to some other team, I can see that also happening as well. Like, they are a team that moves in tech, and I think that they know that they have a good team, but their core is mainly going to be Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and they work from there. Yeah. Who can fit around them? Right now, I think they have a good enough team that won to where you can go through 2 more seasons. But I think after that, anyone's on the table not named those 2 players for Boston.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And we'll see. Like I said, surprisingly enough, the Cavs are also projected to be under the luxury tax for the next 4 years, even with all
like they're hooping with that. That's really good.
They've done a really good job at it. And so we'll see what flexibility that adds as far as like if they do decide to move off these guys. Like, how much longer do you think the Cavs, even though they have these guys all locked in, that they can go? How many more seasons do they have to make a decision to move off one of these 4 players? Is it as soon as this trade deadline? If things don't go well, is it this time next year? How soon do you think they would have to seriously look at making that decision?
See, this is such a good question to me, because we need to look at their playoffs, right? If you go to the first year, they pretty much flame out in the first round versus the Knicks. They get dominated. They recoup, come back this year. They tank their seat on purpose to play Orlando, wind up going 7 games with Orlando, almost losing, but you win that series. Then you play Boston, who is like the class of the East, the bar, and then your players get hurt during the series, so we can't really make much of that. To me, they haven't had like a consistent series where it's like, okay, they're playing comp and they're winning. We haven't seen that yet, right? I think it really depends on who they're playing this year in the playoffs. Like, I want to see them in a series not against Boston, because you have a built-in excuse almost like, okay, we lost to Boston. That's the best team in the East, fine. But I think all the other teams, like maybe the Bucks, I think if you're Cleveland, you're probably thinking, okay, we can probably beat maybe some of those teams. Maybe not Boston, who's like the best team, sure, why not? But the other teams we should have a chance to. Like, there's no reason why, if you're Cleveland, you don't think you can have a chance against a Knicks team that only has one real on-ball creator, right? Like, we have Donovan Mitchell, we have Garland, we have size. Like, we can really bang with them maybe. I think for them, they're looking at how do we gel and how do we consistently get further and further in the playoffs and build up reps. I also think, and this is the biggest thing, Hayes, signing a new head coach, to me, is extending the window with this team at least 2 more seasons at the very least, because you got to get his overall game plan in. Mm-hmm. Also, he's a big fan of, I believe, Jared Allen from like the Brooklyn Nets days. So all that stuff needs time. So I think probably 2 more seasons.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2, but Gifted literally just pointed out the best reason, which was the last one that he said, which was Kenny Atkinson. We got to give him time. Right, we saw the JB Bickerstaff version of this team, and we saw instances where you could say, okay, maybe the lights were too bright, like Jared Allen said after that Knicks series, or you go up against Orlando, like Gifted said. We talked about that series when it was like in game 1.
We did.
None of us were like, yeah, besides Gifted, I think, because Gifted said Magic in 7. He did. But none of us thought that series was going to even go 7 besides Gifted. I think.
I thought I was going to be a nasty ass too. I'm like,
this shit about to go 7. And so Gifted sensed that shit. But everyone else was just like, oh, okay, well, and the thing is that I was mad at myself because I was looking at that Magic defense all year long, complimenting Jalen Suggs on his improvement, complimenting Paolo on the way that he was essentially carrying that offense from times, and Franz, right? But then I was like, all right, now after seeing KCP on this team, you got to look at all the other teams. That's why I can't really just put in a box right now, because I'm like, all right, we know the Celtics are at the top, fine. Philly at the top, fine. The Knicks at the top, 3rd seed, fine. But then everything else starts to get a little bit murky when you have a Cavs.
Oh, the East going to be a battle next year,
it's
boy.
It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle.
It's a battle.
You got a Cavs team that locked in on their core that has a new coach.
Bro, the Heat, where the Heat going to be next year? Like, I don't know.
Completely forgot about the Heat. And shit. To get this point, that's another thing too. The Bucks is another team where I'm like, they're a question mark that's kind of just drifted off throughout the summer because of the Paul George talks and Philly and what happened in New York and what have you. But in their situation, I think that their championship window is the one that's really at stake here, because we look at Cleveland. I think that Cleveland could probably, if coached correctly, right, they could take the Bucks in the series for sure. Donovan Mitchell's healthy the whole way, right? A little Donovan versus Dame action. I'm here for that, right? Like I said, Darius Garland, hold your fucking weight, right? Even still, I'm interested in that. I can see the appeal in that. The Magic getting KCP, bro, to add to that defense that was already, I think, top 5 last year.
Yeah, a Magic will be nice next season. And like, that's my only thing with the Cavs, Hayes, right? This goes back overall to your thing, because my thing is, okay, you're bringing in a new coach, so I can understand this year being a year that we write off when we say they needed time or whatever. But at the end of the day, beyond the head coach, how are they improving the roster beyond their 4 guys? Right. Because again, if you're not Boston, who won a title and they're bringing back everyone, you're getting worse. If you're just staying in the mud, how are you going to get better? Especially when the team you just went 7 games with got better, right? On top of internal development of Paolo and Franz and even Jalen Suggs. So for me, I'm looking at, okay, Evan Mobley, you were drafted and looked at as a potential KG close, or whatever you want to call it, in like year 8 or 9, whatever you want to call it. I think now for him, we're looking at him and saying the development of whatever you're going to be has to be this season. If you are a DPOY guy, you got to be there this season. Like, you need something drastic to pop in these next 2 years to justify keeping the core together.
That's fair. So let's have a fun experiment. It may take some thinking. We didn't prepare for this, but it just came to my mind. We're talking about the Eastern Conference, which I do think is going to be a lot more competitive than what people are giving you credit for. Let's go through these teams in the Eastern Conference and what is the biggest hurdle that they have as far as on the roster, the biggest flaw that they have that could keep them from getting to a championship next year. When you look at the Boston Celtics, #1 team in the East last year, what do you think is the biggest thing that could hold them back next season?
Health. Health. And like, I mainly say that because I think they were able to get through the Eastern Conference because they were just overall that good of a team. But if Porzingis and then maybe someone else goes down, they're just not the same team. So health for me would be the #1 thing for them.
Yeah. For me, not becoming stagnant. Like, because look, the one thing that people don't talk about a lot is the fact that there haven't been a lot of back-to-back champions, right? When you look back in the last 15 plus years, you look at 09-10 Lakers, of course, the Heat, the Warriors. That's it, right?
Yeah.
The parity in the last 6 years has been there, and it's been great, right? From a marketing perspective or whatever, right? You could say the Raptors won, and then the Lakers, the Bucks, the Warriors, the Nuggets, now the Celtics. So if the Celtics are this historically great, that would mean, and they were able to retain their pieces. They have all that pressure that the Nuggets had when they won one, because people were like, oh, you got that core of Jamal and Jokic and MPJ. They end up letting Bruce Brown walk. Then fast forward a year later, they let KCP walk, right? So they were just chipping off the bone at that point. The Celtics have that, at least like we just said, a 2-year window. They have that to be able to say, okay, we were the most dominant team last year. Y'all said that we had an easy path, whatever. Go out there and go back to back. They got. If the Celtics think that they still don't have like haters to silence, right? Jason Tatum, right? like they got to go back to back. I'm sorry, they got to go back.
I think their path to the finals this year almost dictates that they have to, and that's the thing. Like to your point, I'll say it. I think expectations is going to be the biggest thing that could potentially hold the Boston Celtics back. Is that they are going to have a lot of expectations. They're going to have everybody. They're going to get the best shot from everybody next season, and then on top of that, that pressure to prove it is going to be there for them. And we've seen teams that just don't stand up to that type of pressure, even after looking great for several seasons. So we'll see what happens there. And then, you look at also just the growth in the Eastern Conference overall. If teams go into the playoffs healthy next year, they're not going to have as easy of a walk. So we'll see how they can.
Imagine if they had to play like physical team back to back, like a healthy Magic team now, right? Then the Bucks, and then maybe they have to play Philadelphia in like the conference finals. Like this is where I say people that say the regular season doesn't matter are blind, because that's how you build up your habits. And more than anything, the seeding is going to dictate a lot of this shit. Yes. Like your road to the finals is predicated on what? Your seeding. Normally, if you're a higher seeded team, you don't have to play all these good teams. That's why Boston being one drew the teams they drew. That matters.
Yeah, that's a fact. The New York Knicks, what's their biggest hurdle to the title next year?
Health. Let me just say it first.
I don't want to spam health twice. I'll let Zizi get down.
No, let me go. Look, if you can't spam it twice, I will. Look, the New York Knicks. I said this literally going into the playoffs last year because the Knicks went into it hobbled, right? Yeah. I wanted to see out of like people said that the East was weak, whatever. I wanted to see a New York Knicks and Boston Celtics 7-game series in, I don't care if it was the conference finals or the second round, whatever. I wanted to see that matchup, a healthy Knicks team, because all of the talk about Jalen Brunson, right, last season, right, at one point they were talking about if he, as a number one option, could be this and this and that or whatever. But at the same time, I'm sitting here saying, dude, the fact that the Knicks have went full in on the Nova Knick identity, whatever. Mm-hmm. If they stay healthy, this could change the direction of the Eastern Conference, for next season, because people are going to look at Boston at the top for sure. They're looking at Philly at the top for sure because they're top heavy. But if the Knicks could play that brand of basketball that just invites everyone, bro, it could be literally raps, but they have to be healthy. Julius Randle is another question mark. Julius Randle is another question mark because a healthy Julius, right? We don't know with this Mikal Bridges and OG and Jalen and Dante, where does Julius Randle fit in all this? That's something else that I'm interested to see. But yeah, that's what I got for it.
Yeah, for me, my answer is going to be Julius Randle this time, and it's not even health, even though that matters, but it's fit. How are you going to fit? How does Julius Randle fit on this team with Jalen Brunson and the wings that they already have? For instance, when it comes down to closing out the game, is he closing at the 5? Are we rolling with maybe Mitchell Robinson at the 5? Okay, but then Josh Hart or maybe all of the other players are going to have to sit for Julius Randle. How does he fit? Is he going to be okay with knowing, hey, on a night-to-night basis, I might not close on this team, even though I might be the overall second best player on this team? How does that work? And how does Tom Thibodeau make that work? That's my question for the Knicks, because I think them not having a true on-ball guy after Brunson, I think Randall's the only guy who could really fill that role, and his decision-making has been questionable in spots. He's one of the worst playoff droppers in the league. So this roster to me is the best one built around the both of them. So how does he fit, and can he guide them to being a very good team in the Eastern Conference? I want to see that.
Thanks.
I think the biggest thing is what you alluded to, as far as like with Jalen Brunson being the only on-ball creator that they have. Like if Jalen Brunson either goes down or is hobbled or is slowed in any type of way, they may still have a little bit of defense. That offensive creation that they have is in the toilet at that point in time. And we know that Tom Thibodeau, he's not an offensive at all genius of a coach. So like it's their offensive prowess is so dictated on Jalen Brunson continue to play at near an MVP level. And if he has any type of drop off, I just don't know how this team is going to score consistent.
Yeah.
So it's going to be up to Mikal Bridges and OG, right? Like
that's
it's like
why I brought up Julius Randle, because he's the only one that has some pop on the ball sometimes, but even he's questionable. Even he has not been consistent.
And another point too that Hayes almost brought up, Tom Thibodeau is another X factor in all this. Now, like you said, you can look at Thibodeau, and he's probably one of the most polarizing coaches in the league, probably the most polarizing coach. Now that I think about it, because there's two ways you can look at it. I've said it before. The team's identity is centered around the front office saying we need to get Thibodeau guys, right? Guys that can play his style of basketball, where it is an emphasis on defense. And if you're playing great, you're playing the whole game. It's like, and even if you're up 30, you're going back in the game. Why? Because shit, I don't trust my 9th guy on the team or my 8th guy or whatever. So it's a style of play that sucks when you're watching it as a fan, because you sit and you scratch your head a lot of times, or you're nervous because you don't want guys to end up like Derrick Rose, my favorite player ever. So it's tough, but that's another question mark I have is Josh Hart going to be still playing 37 minutes a night en route to them trying to go to the postseason and then try to make a deep postseason run?
It should be easy now that they have OG, but again,
exactly.
The health.
But OG and his
OG's health, because he can't play over 55 games a season, so it's like, ugh.
Yeah, and that's where you're hoping between Josh Hart playing the minis that he has, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. You're hoping that you got to at least 2 of those guys fully healthy and ready to go in the playoffs.
They said, "Oh, I already bet, right? Our Iron Man, Josh Hart, got hurt towards the end, so we're gonna go get another Iron Man to come over here and play for something in New York." Shit, there's gonna be a nice 6-7 seed.
That's funny. That's
6-7 seed is hilarious.
6-7 seed is wild.
That would be so disappointing if they were 6-7 seed, bro.
That would be hugely disappointing. Milwaukee Bucks, what's their biggest hurdle in getting to the finals next year?
Whoo, man. Roster depth and utilization of said roster from Doc Rivers, to me, got to be what it is. I mean, the defense is very questionable. Brook Lopez is once again a year older. Giannis is the only real athlete on this team. If you just calm down and think about it, who else is really booming shit on this team? Athletically, it's really just Giannis. I mean, everyone else is pretty much older. Chris Middleton has had injury stuff going on. Dame said he wasn't conditioned last time he came because he thought he was going to be traded, so he didn't want to get injured. So that's why he had the season he had. We got to see if that's true, because he's also aging up there as a guard. And it's like, you need to use the margins because that's all you have, right? Andre Jackson got to play this year. You got to get more like young pop and athleticism. So to me, it's got to be that. And we know about Doc Rivers. I don't got to say nothing about Doc Rivers. We got to see how he uses that to his advantage.
Also, Doc Rivers is one of the people that benefited from Twitter hiding likes automatically anymore. Thank God for that. We know
about the arc. We know about the arc. Yeah, we know about the arc he had. Yeah,
that was crazy.
I seen him
talk about a run. Hey, go ahead, Z.
I seen him that day.
That was crazy. Boy, a fan. He a fan.
Yeah.
He's making all the wrong adjustments on Twitter, boy. Crazy.
Oh my God! Look. All I'm gonna say is, for the Milwaukee Bucks, we talked about it before. They have defensive problems in the front court or in the back court. What they have depth issues as well. But that, like Gibson said, that is all up to Doc Rivers at this point. At the end of the day, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. But whatever it's gonna be is up to Doc Rivers. Look, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, you have Damian Lillard. Before the season started last year, people were foaming at the mouth at the possibility of watching a Giannis and Damian Lillard pick and roll.
Giannis pick and roll.
All that. That's all I heard. And then the regular season got here. And what did I hear? Oh, it's Adrian Griffin's. Shut up. No. I don't care if Giannis and them don't like running that. Whatever. Doc Rivers, you have got to figure out a way to keep this team afloat. Offensively, they were fine. They could pass, but you could be a little bit better in certain moments. And in late game situations, yes, you have Damian Lillard, right? So you're going to live or die by whatever Dame Time comes up with. I'm cool with that. But at the same time, if you don't have an identity defensively, and Giannis is known for as a former defensive player of the year, back-to-back league MVP, all defensive first team, you know what I'm saying? Like Bobby Portis, Brooke Lopez, right, have been in deep boy conversations before, six-man conversations before. Bobby Portis played phenomenal last season in certain stretches, right? And I'm sitting here saying, this bro getting up in age. I remember him back on the Bulls, Hayes. I remember him back on the Bulls when he knocked out Nikola
Mirotic.
And I was like, yo, at the time I was a Bulls fan. I'm sitting here like, yo, this is when I knew everything was going downhill. I was like, shit, Rose gone, Bobby punching, like, bro. But anyway, the Bucks have a situation on their hands where it's make or break. All these other teams have been making moves, right? So you as a team have got to figure out a way not to fall behind, because the Boston's still at the top. Philly got better. New York got better. The Cavs locked in on their core. And y'all are sitting here stuck trying to still get players to listen to Doc Rivers. Y'all got some stuff to figure out.
That's why I think Gary Trent is a big picker. If he's used correctly in the flow of their offense, and if he can recapture the Portland defense we saw him playing back then, this team could be a much better team than we think it is, at least on paper.
We hope so. We can hope so. Next up, Orlando Magic.
I like this one, Hayes. Okay. For Orlando, the question I have about them is really point guard play. I think defensively they have answered every single question. They're going to have like a top 5 defense. I would bet a lot on that. But for me, it comes down to offensive execution consistently. And to me, a lot of that is going to be based on Jalen Suggs' improvements. But really, Franz and Paolo are going to have to be on the ball more. And I think Franz is going to have to be like their main ball handler. I think Paolo isn't quite there to where he can be like the point forward all the time. He can do that in the half court set, sure, but like full court, like all the time. I think Franz is going to be more responsible for that. And also, can he live up to the contract he just signed? Can he have a year where he's a better shooter than 30% from the field, right? Like, we got to see how that improves itself. And I think the playmaking and creating for others is important, because if they can just get that to an average level where like it's not god awful bad, this is a very good team, because that defense is going to be elite.
Yeah, the defense isn't the question at all with the Orlando Magic. I don't know many people who would question their defense. It is their offense. That is why there were some rumors around them acquiring some of the players out there available, because their defense is so good, but their offensive efficiency was in the toilet last year. And so that's the biggest question there, is that, yeah, we know that defense, especially in the playoffs, it helps you a lot, but you need to be able to put points on the board. And if you face off against a team that's also solid defensively, you like at that point, you don't have enough offensive firepower. They're really hoping that, like you said, Paolo, Franz, that these guys take nice steps offensively. And of course, KCP's shooting is going to help that team as well. But you're really looking at the young players that were on your team last year, making a significant step up offensively for you to really raise your ceiling as a team. And so that's where it gets you. Not that I don't think that they can do it. I can see a season in which Franz or Paolo grow substantially offensively, but then you're asking those teams those players in the same year that they grew offensively to then be able to maintain it through a playoff run. And typically you just don't see that all happen at the same time.
And that's asking a lot. I really feel like there should be a lot of good things to say about them, since they went 7 games in the first round and we saw like how close they were. Literally, if Franz doesn't have his worst game as a pro in the most important game, they probably win the series. To me, KCP can add veteran leadership, but the shooting opens up a lot of this stuff, because even if you don't have very good point guard play, if the shooting by committee gets to an average level, it's a different team. It just is, right? Because shooting and good defense with athletes in transition translates to a lot of wins. It just does. If you can get there with the shooting.
Yeah, because the defense is legit. And so, yeah, we'll see if that can happen for them. Next up, it's going to be hard with the team we haven't seen play together yet, but the Philadelphia 76ers. What's the biggest thing getting there?
This is the biggest health thing on any team, period, because we have not seen Joel Embiid be healthy in the second round since he was drafted, which is wild, like insane for me to say, but it's true. But honestly, if you're just strictly saying on-court fit, rebounding. This is a team that has struggled with rebounding consistently. I thought Tobias Harris was extremely overrated in that aspect because he would get boards, but the boards were not really impactful. And more importantly, Paul George's fit in the offense. Is he going to take away from the Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey two-man game? How does he incorporate himself in it? Are we going to see more Paul George off of Joel Embiid plays? Like all these things. But the rebounding is so critical because I saw this team lose games because of rebounding. Routinely back to back in the playoffs. Paul George offensively should elevate them to a entirely different level, but I'm looking at staggers, and this team just doesn't have a real four. Who's the four on this team?
That's a great question. How much do you think, so with the rebounding aspect of it, how much do you think playing Joel Embiid and Andre Drummond is going to be feasible in a playoff scenario?
I think Joel Embiid is going to play the lion's share of the minutes, obviously, when it comes down to a postseason play. I think Andre Drummond as your backup is very good because, again, the last time he was here in Philadelphia, he was valid. But in terms of playoff minutes, we got to be real about Andre Drummond. At most, he's like a 10-minute guy. He's not really reliable like that. He makes dumb basketball decisions. But the size and the rebounding is something you need, and he can provide that. Can that be consistent for you for a whole playoff run? I don't know. And my biggest thing about that is we're mainly talking about him in the non-Joel Embiid minutes. Who's going to be out there with Joel Embiid to rebound the ball? We don't have an answer on that yet.
Yeah, and
maybe it's Paul George.
I don't question. Like, can you play Andre Drummond and Embiid together in crucial moments in playoffs if rebounding's killing you? And that's a question that I think in some spurts, but like you said, Drum's efficiency goes down once he passes 15 minutes.
Yes,
he can still be effective. He's still going to have games where he puts up numbers, but the efficiency tends to go down if you're playing over 15 minutes. That's why you don't see him playing the minutes that like his rebounding rate and things will tell you that you need to have him out there on the court. And so, not having that, you hit the nail on the head. They're not having a true four there could be the undoing of that team.
I can't name one for real. Like it's. And Hayes, I know this because, again, a friend of mine, right? He's a huge fan of the team. Every day we talk about it, and it's like, who is it? He was praying that they got maybe Najee Marshall. He's gone. Like, it's really dried up at this point. To me, they're hoping for a guy that they can maybe get off a buyout or whatever, but this team's roster is strongly built off of those three, and the only way that you can combat your rebounding issues if you're a more efficient team offensively. And that comes down to Joel Embiid, Paul George. Are you healthy and available when we need you? Or are you shells of yourself, but you're still playing? We got to see that.
That's a fact. We passed the Pacers. What's the biggest thing getting in the way of the Pacers?
The Pacers are interesting ass team. I think just as a whole, you can literally take the entire Pacers team and just put defense, because fuck, bro. Like they were so bad
defensively last year.
So awful. But the funny part about the Pacers is they were so good offensively. So to me, it's like, can you recapture the offensive magic? Also, what Tyrese are we getting? Are we getting the one who was an all-NBA player through his first maybe 25 games? Or are we getting the guy that got injured, came back, and was a real shell of himself and hasn't really played that much overseas right now either? They need Tyrese to be at his best if they're going to be at their best. But defensively, you got to find some type of fix, because you cannot expect to win and go far in the playoffs again with your defense being that bad. I get it. They made it to a conference finals. To their credit, that means a lot. It does. But that Knicks team was severely depleted as their round went on. Also, the Bucks team was also severely depleted, even though I was one of the few people who felt like they had a chance in beating the Bucks fully healthy.
Yeah.
These are questions. We got to get them answered.
I mean, when you look at the Indiana Pacers, just to highlight, like, they averaged the most points per game in the league at 123 points per game, but they gave up 120 points.
They gave it right back.
Crazy to be able to average 100. I know we're in a league and right now where scoring is at a premium. Everybody can score. Teams are scoring more points than what we've seen. We got more teams averaging over 100 points than ever. But to give up 120 points per game it's crazy.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a lot, man.
And they haven't made the moves where you look at it and you say, all right, this is a move that adamantly makes them better defensively. They haven't made those type of moves either. So you're looking at this team that can be great offensively. Like you said, had a really solid playoff run. But still, like, to have that bad of a defense, that's just something that I would like to think that somebody's going to expose along the way. And so you can't, I can't bet on a team with that bad of a defense to make it far, to make it to a final.
Yeah.
I just can't. So
I think beyond the defense, the other thing is the internal development of the guys who they've kept on the roster. I really want to see Andrew Nembhard continue to thrive, mainly because even if he's very good on the team, that's fine. But using some of these guys as trade chips to go get what you really need could be huge. Because I think Nembhard could be a point guard on another team and could have some real value, especially if he keeps performing the way that he's been. How am I forgetting his name? They drafted him. He got injured towards the end.
Mathurin.
Yes, Benedict Mathurin is my question, because I think he's the only guy that physically and also mentality-wise can be a good two-way player and a bucket getter. His development this season is going to be very key too.
Yeah, when he got drafted and they asked him how you're going to guard LeBron, he said LeBron got to go through me. That told me everything I need to know about.
That told me everything you need to know, bro. Yeah,
about the
he's with it.
Miami Heat.
Oh my God. Yo, hey, no bullshit, Hayes. Like, I was looking at the Eastern Conference yesterday because right now I'm doing my all 30 team series, right? So like
that's how we met.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm gonna be hitting you up pretty soon about the Bulls in a minute. But right, cool. I was going through it, right? And like the Heat are such a hard ass team because they're one of the few teams in the league that not only did nothing, but lost a player. Like, they lost Caleb Martin, a guy that 2 years ago was fighting for Jimmy Butler for an Eastern Conference Finals MVP, right? Obviously, not the same caliber during that run, but still, he's a player that had value. You lost him. I think the biggest thing is they traded for Rozier, who got injured towards the end of last year. Apparently, it was a neck thing. He's still not all the way back during the offseason now. How is that going to look? Jimmy Butler wants to get paid. Is going to play out this year, but I think he has one more year left on his deal. Oftentimes, players can just ask out. I think they're going to get the best of Jimmy Butler this year, but what does that really amount to with this roster? If Jimmy Butler is locked in with Bam Adebayo and they're ready to go, how good is this Heat team is my question. Because they are the biggest dark horse question mark in the Eastern Conference. Because out of all the teams, right? The Bucks, the Knicks, are they a top 4 team? I don't think they are. Right?
Yeah. The Heat are a big enigma is when it comes down to, because the Heat culture is real, and I think we all know that. We've understood that. They've lost a lot. They didn't add, but you're looking at a player like Jaime Jaquez, who played really good for them last year, right? And you're looking to see how does he add to his game, and maybe that was the calculated risk there, and then letting Martin go, because now you got Jaime Jaquez, you've opened up some more minutes for him. You got Khalil Ware at the center position, who killed it in summer league, but you need to see how he's going to round that at the NBA level. But he seems to bring a lot of the athleticism, shot blocking that you can need, that can maybe even put Bam back to kind of what he's doing more with Team USA, maybe playing more of a 4 role. And you can see that working for the team. But these are all question marks, right? Nikola Jovic, he was finished the season starting for you last year, averaged 9 points per game as a starter, but you're not looking at him replacing anything defensively. So this is a team that I look at the Miami Heat, and I've learned to not question the Miami Heat too much, because it seems like as long as Jimmy Butler's healthy and him and Eric Spoelstra on the same page, they're gonna surprise us. And when does that come, though? Do they surprise us in the regular season with the run? Do they surprise us getting out the play-in? Or do they surprise us making the playoffs and then going on a deep playoff run again? But ultimately, like, I'm not betting on that to make it to an NBA title. Like, I love Eric Spoelstra. I love so many of the players and the pieces on this Miami Heat team, but and maybe Rozier, not having him last season, paired with the growth of Jaime Jaquez, paired with rookie Khalil Ware, who, if he could just focus on what he does well, I can see contributing to this team, helps elevate them some. But I can't say that I can see it elevating them enough to where now I'm betting on a finals run or anything like that, if that makes sense.
And that's my problem with the Heat right there, Hayes, because they've shown you time and time again they can beat teams despite the fact that they do not have better talent. They've shown you that time and time again. My problem with that is they wait to show you that in the postseason. And I think in the current Eastern Conference, you don't have time to wait for that because guess what? You get caught up in that play-in. Butler, who waits for the playoffs
one game
last year, he gets hurt in the play-in, right? So now you're playing Boston undermanned and you lose. The same thing could happen again if they're dicking around not being, comfortably in the 1 through 6, race. And there's a lot of teams in the East that have a claim to be one of those 6 teams.
There's a lot. You're absolutely right.
Tough.
I mean, we can get into the team. Those really the ones that I look at the most. I mean, I'm definitely not going to bring up my Bulls here. The Atlanta Hawks.
I am actually excited to watch. Listen, I am excited to watch the Hawks because they're either going to be very bad or they're going to circumvent my expectations. And I only say that because I believe in this basketball theory, right? Less is more. And I say this because we see a lot of teams really go out of their way to add 4 or 5 star players when sometimes no, you just need 2 with the balanced roster. And I look at them, it's okay, you traded DeJounte Murray, he's gone. Well, the offense was always better when Trae Young had the ball. I think Trae Young trying to buy into learning how to play with him as well kind of made him look worse than what he really was. And also, with him gone, you open up more minutes for Jalen Johnson, who for me is my second favorite player on the team. I think he's very good. You give him more opportunity as the secondary option on this team with his athleticism and his defensive tilt. I think the Hawks could be a pretty fun team. Now, what is fun? Probably 5 seed, maybe 6 seed. I think that's pretty fun for them, but we don't know what they're going to be because realistically, they are pretty much the Pacers in a way where the defense isn't quite there. You have a lot of question marks about a lot of the overall plays, but they have a star player who you feel if he's at his best can really get you up there.
Yeah, the Hawks are going to be an interesting team to watch because, I guess you have a little bit more hope on how this is all going. Well, you also said that it could turn into a train wreck, and that's what I'm worried about it being here. They DeJounte Murray's gone now, so now you kind of free Trae up to do more of his stuff. Having Bogdanovich there at the 2, he's way more of an off-ball player than what Trae Young was because DeJounte needed and deserved the ball in his hands. And adding the number 1 overall pick and Zachary Richard there is something also to look out for. Like you said, I can understand the fun aspect of the Atlanta Hawks team. They could be a team where it's hey, a Hawks game on. I ain't got nothing else to do. Let me watch this game. It could be fun to see.
It's possible.
But
or they could be very bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have high hopes for the Atlanta Hawks, man. I would love to be wrong on that. But yeah, my expectations for the Hawks are low. Very, very low.
Is Trae gone by the deadline? just got to ask because we've seen crazier things happen.
I'll give it a 40% chance that Trae Young is gone by the trade deadline.
Okay. Word.
40% chance that Trae Young is gone by the trade deadline. Only because if this team is as bad as what I think they're going to be, I think at that point it makes more sense to move off of Trae, get the assets as you can back. You have a young player, Zachary Richard there. You have Jalen Johnson there, who I agree with you. I like Jalen Johnson a lot on this team.
I like him a lot.
You could sell off Trae, Bogdanovich, and Clint all in separate deals, not together, and get some assets back, and then take your roll at the dice at that point in time because I think this team is going to be bad, very bad.
I just want to point out it's hilarious though, Hayes, because if they do wind up being very bad, and they wind up being maybe a top, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 over a lottery pick, the Spurs have that pick.
Oh, they own it outright?
Scary as shit. Yes.
That's crazy.
Because remember, they made the trade. They traded 3 unprotected to the Spurs, and they didn't get the picks back. Yeah. So it's if they wind up losing, they have no power over their own history unless they get more picks.
And that may be why they end up having to trade Trae Young. It may be.
Very possible. Yeah.
Because at that point, if you don't own your own first round picks and you're honestly giving it a go and you are still hovering around the play-in, maybe you convince yourself, all right, well, 1 or 2 pieces and the right pieces, maybe we can get out this play-in. But at that point, if they are disappointing at that point in the season leading into the trade deadline, you may just have to look and evaluate your roster and say, we got to get some of these assets back.
And this is a very good draft coming up. This is the draft you're supposed to move Earth, Wind, and Fire to get in that top 5 for.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hear that for sure.
So we'll see what happens there, man. But overall, I still think the Eastern Conference is going to be an extremely fun conference to watch. I know we didn't go through every single team. Is there any team that we didn't talk about that you think could be a surprise? I have one, but is there anyone that you think?
A surprise in the Eastern Conference, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a dark horse, maybe surprise, but it's like a dark horse.
Okay.
Charlotte.
That's mine too. That's literally mine too. Yeah.
Okay.
Like
okay.
Wesley Snipes Black is a dark horse. It's Wesley Snipes dark horse.
Him dodging tax evasion is the
And the reason why I think that you probably think the same thing. Like the last time LaMelo Ball was healthy, and I know that's betting on. They've seen 143 games. And they've added a lot of talent in it. Brandon Miller, if he can take his game a step further, you got
Brandon Miller's going up,
going up for sure. You, if you can get Mark Williams, who also showed a lot his rookie year, was hurt the majority of his second year. If you can keep it's health. If this team is healthy, and I know you can never bet on full health, but if this team can stay relatively healthy throughout a whole season, I do think that this is a team that can flirt with maybe missing the play-in as far as being a top 6 seed, but I do think that they are a playing team if they can be fully healthy. It's just you can't bet on that with any of the Ball brothers at this point in time. So
yeah, it's rough to watch. I say Charlotte because to me, I think they're not that far away from being a stable, respectable team. And I say that because Mark Williams could be something, right? Trey Mann, a player that a lot of people aren't talking about. When he got traded there, he was playing pretty good basketball, and I was without LaMelo in the lineup. I think having him and LaMelo as guard shot creators makes a ton of sense for the team. Also, Brandon Miller, like basically being like the Paul George archetype where he's playing good defense. He's a good off-ball player. He can shoot the ball well. He can dunk. I think when you put all those things overall together and the new head coaching hire, I don't know if you've seen like clips, but he seemed like a very good coach. And it looks like they are respecting his voice. And a lot of these teams who are young need that direction, need that guidance. And if he's the coach I think he can be and they have health, they could be a team that surprises people. Like, damn, they're really in the mix of like a 5 or 6 seed. I can't believe what I'm watching because I think when healthy, LaMelo Ball is a very creative basketball player where he's like hard to guard. He can be a triple-double threat. And I think they just have to figure that out. So I'm not mad at Charlotte, to be honest with you. I think they're close to being close.
Close. That's accurate. I think that's a very accurate description of them. And the health plays a huge aspect of it. I agree with you. The coach does look like he has something, but it also like LaMelo and Brandon Miller, if they can figure out how to play together and feed off each other, which their skill sets show that should be the case, right? I just think that the way that both those players attack offensively and how versatile they are offensively, that it can open up everything else for the role players that you have there. And Trey Mann being the first guard off the bench could be really big for them as well. So we'll see. They also got one of my favorite players in this draft, in Tajon Saloon. I don't think he's going to give a lot in his rookie year. He's a very raw player, but don't be keep that name marked. I would not be surprised if in 2 or 3 years we're talking about Tajon Saloon actually being a pretty damn good basketball player. So
I never seen him before. What is his overall build?
So he's kind of the modern day tweener forward.
Okay.
So you can really see kind of interchangeable forwards with him, Miles Bridges, and Brandon Miller at some point in this over the length of his rookie contract. Also, he's a player that he attacks. He can attack the rim very well. He has a solid dribble package there. He has there as well. The problem with Tajon Saloon is that he's one of the guys that you project to be a point forward, but he's extremely turnover prone right now. So him learning to play without the ball in his hands is going to be really big in the NBA level, because while LaMelo Ball's here, you're not going to have the ball in your hand. But I like the prototype that Tajon Saloon is a lot in this draft.
Makes sense. I mean, again, versatile forwards matter, man.
Yeah,
they do. So he could be something big for them. And again, like I just want there's so many teams in the East I want to watch this year. The Magic are super intriguing. Yes. Even the Bucks, I might watch just to see if Dame and Giannis can figure out their 2-man game better this year. You know, like there's a lot of intrigue. And I think there's a lot on the line for teams that don't make a top 6 seed, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, hey, that matters. I really want to see that.
The race to tank too is going to be interesting to watch some of these teams too as well.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. The Nets running away with that shit.
Oh yeah, bro. The Nets.
My boy, the Nets running away with that shit. They signed Killian. Listen, when I seen they signed Killian Hayes, I'm like, oh nah, they got it. They done locked it up.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. The Brooklyn Nets are gonna be a crazy team as far as to watch how many games they lose, man.
I'm taking Cam Thomas in fantasy. I don't give a damn.
Oh yeah, listen, Cam Thomas, irrational confidence player of the year, bro. He's gonna be getting all the shots he wants to. Any last thoughts before we get up out of here, man?
No, I'm excited because this offseason is moving a lot faster than people realize. We're already about to be in August. The season isn't that far from overall coming back, and that makes me excited. So that's cool. Overall, the PCL has been fun as well. I can't wait to keep doing that. And yeah, I can't complain, Hayes, honestly. I'm doing good.
It's been real fun, man. You guys make sure you guys stay tuned in with us. We'll be back. Today is Thursday. We'll be back Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys tune in with us there. I'll be gone that episode, but Gifted and ZZ will be holding it down. We are live every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. The PCL is lit. So make sure you guys stay tuned in for that also, man. We out here. Peace, y'all.
Peace out, people. Have a good one. Watch basketball. All of that jazz. That's very, very, very important.